Hey everyone, Chloe here, and welcome back to this feminine platform, and welcome back to my channel. And of course, if you are new here, ladies and lurkers and ear hustlers, welcome. So I wanted to make this long overdue feminine mentoring deeper dive, common sense is not that common video, and a video that can help to increase your it factor, and a video that can help to save a feminine life. Now, for house cleaning purposes, if you are a perfect woman, and you've always been confident, and you always get what you want out of a man, and you've never ever been desperate, this video is not for you. Also, for house cleaning purposes, I am not a board certified therapist, even though I have a lot of mental health professionals who follow me. But I am just a woman who is sharing what I feel can be helpful to the droves of lost women who are in the dating and marriage marketplace, who need the gift of insight and who need all the help that they can get. Now, when it comes to desperation, the most DM'd topic that I get asked about are dating questions and concerns from women who want to know how to walk away from a man or a situationship that is inconsistent, wishy-washy, or because they are playing the game to not lose, or they want to know how to release a low-value prospect back into the wild. Now, all of the femininity channels like to talk about getting pretty or how to hustle or con a man or getting a man's attention, but no one likes to talk about when women are desperate, or why so many women are lacking in their it factor, or why so many women are willing to jump into their masculine to get their needs met by any man with a pulse. And the truth is, a desperate woman will often have a lot of blind spots and will often not know how to walk away from poor treatment, even when she's done everything within her power to look the feminine part, and everything within her power to ensure that a man doesn't leave her. And that is because a lot of women are operating out of a place of desperation, and desperate women always get played to the left. Just ask our Libra sister, Ms. Keisha Cole, who is always attaching herself to a man who's for everybody, and who is always prematurely looking for that hug, and who is always aggressively throwing herself at younger cubs who never ever fully claim her. But ladies, if a prospect is making you chase by breadcrumbing you, by using you for your cookies, or by falling off of the face of the earth for days or weeks on end, or by only calling you in the middle of the night, or by using his work as an excuse to not take you out and court you, and all of the other mind game tactics that will cause you to fall into the trap of desperation or dry begging, this video is for you. Now, dry chasing can be sending one-sided text to a man who only responds 3 to 6 hours later, claiming him before he claims you, nagging him about when he's going to take you out, and all other forms of initiation, asking him how his day was, and initiating conversations when you haven't heard from him for days on end are all dry chasing tactics that reek of desperation and that rob you of your it factor. So instead of working overtime to get a prospect to like you or to claim you as a feminine strategy, ladies, and I hope you're listening, what is the point of looking the feminine part if you don't have the courage to get to the root of your desperation? Because desperate women, as we all have learned from the Nisa Tisa story, do not win in romance ever. And FYI, a man can sniff out your desperation pretty easily, as they have a spidey sense on the type of women who know their worth and will act accordingly to how you demonstrate your boundaries and your self-respect. So what exactly is desperation? The spirit of desperation is the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the actionable belief in lack, unworthiness, and not being enough, mixed in with a desire to chase, to manipulate outcomes, to dry beg, or to force others into acceptance, approval, validation, or to flat out love us. Desperate women hand over their power because of their inherent low self-esteem and low self-worth. And yes, we're going there. Combined with a nasty personal narrative that taught them that they deserve leftover crumbs or the gum underneath a man's shoes. These are your Tory Lames pick-me's, your garden variety desperados, or the women who go out of their way to carry water for men who didn't ask them to carry water, like your divestors, or the women who have unhealed abandonment issues, or the women who were neglected or mentally abused by those who were responsible for shaping their worthiness and their self-esteem. This is where the power of having a feminine mother or a feminine role model comes into play. And no, I'm not talking about the kind of limited mothering where your mom tells you to simply go to school and get a good job and to become a strong, independent woman. I'm talking about a soft power role model who models high self-esteem and who has the capacity to inject that soft power self-esteem into her daughter. Now, at the root of desperation is insecurity. And while you should be already taking notes, I want you to write this word down: insecurity, and circle it. And yes, any woman of any race, of any age, can be insecure, as insecurity can be passed down and inherited. Your mother can be insecure. Your father can be insecure. Your entire family bloodline can be insecure. So yes, you can inherit the spirit of insecurity. Now, by definition, insecurity means having perpetual feelings of inadequacy and not feeling good enough. And both men and women can feel inadequate. So think about the legacy that your mother or your father passed down to you. Were they secure and confident within themselves, or were they insecure? And you will privately know what was emotionally, mentally, and spiritually passed down to you. Now, here are a few of the common ways that women will often demonstrate insecurity. Number one, people pleasing, or any aggressive form of codependency, where a woman will seek to supply the needs of others at her own expense. Number two, carrying water for men, putting a man of any race on an unearned pedestal, chasing a man for love, or chasing a man who openly rejects you, or who puts you on a back burner, or a man who treats you as unimportant or insignificant. And number three, a willingness to lose your self-respect, including begging, groveling, or tolerating mistreatment. Desperation for a man's love, like I've said in so many of my videos, is usually rooted in an unwillingness to face your unhealed issues from your childhood, parental neglect, narcissistic abuse, and or unhealed parental dysfunction of any kind, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, or even a mentally ill parent, which will often cause a person to use desperation to feel seen and to matter to someone, anyone. And women who are desperate for love will almost always attract and sustain relationships with abusive men and abusive personalities, because there are tons of women who abuse other women, and you see it online all the time. The best way, ladies, to cure your desperation is to put yourself on a wellness path of knowing that you're important, that you're worthy, that you do matter, and that you are deserving of grace when you screw up and make mistakes at any age. Now, the bitter pill of this entire conversation is that women tend to want what they want, and they tend to ignore the wisdom that they don't want to hear. And they also do not want to hear that this very important inner work cannot be done overnight, and that the inner work is not a quick fix, but more of a long game, depending upon the amount of personal damage that you've experienced, which is why I initially started my channel for younger girls, because although younger girls can grow up in dysfunction, they tend to have less baggage and therefore can absorb the lessons on this platform a bit easier compared to women who are older and who tend to accumulate a lot of baggage along the way, which can make facing unhealed dysfunction a very tall, hard-headed mountain to climb. And sometimes a woman's damage is so extensive, she will often not even have the courage to face her inner low self-esteem and her struggle to not feel desperate, because it is much more easier to project our insecurities onto others, and it is much more easier to become a professional victim or to play the blame game than it is to confront our feelings of unworthiness. Ladies, developing and strengthening your worthiness requires radical self-investment, lots of unlearning, and lots of rewriting the script that dysfunction has already written out for you. But here are some actionable steps to heal your dating desperation. Number one, read self-help books that are healing. Healing the shame that binds you is a great starting point for unpacking shame, because unhealed shame causes a lot of desperation. Number two, get therapy and tell your therapist that you struggle with unworthiness, receiving and or feeling deserving. And for the love of Christ, do not go into therapy only to tap dance around your low self-esteem issues, and do not go into therapy pretending that you know it all. If you are broken, sad, or depressed, that is what they are there for, to give you insight on how to rewrite the script. Number three, have a healthy relationship with your inner little girl. See her, acknowledge her, take care of her, and teach your daughters, if you have them, to do the same. And there is a video on how to improve your relationship with your inner little girl on this very channel. Number 4, radical self-care. Putting yourself on a soft power, ladylike feminine pedestal and dropping all forms of people pleasing. Number 5, radically accepting that men are not the prize. I repeat, men are not the prize. The Bible says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Keyword he, but a lot of women have become he's. But essentially, this means that it is a man's job to find a wife. And it is your job to prepare to be a wife. It is not a woman's job to find a husband. A husband is supposed to find you, ladies. And ladies, even if you don't reference the Bible, the sperm biologically chases the egg because it is the sperm's job to compete. So why are you competing in desperation? And number 6, do your feminine homework to become the prize. A lot of women like to call themselves the prize without doing any inner work, which in turn causes them to vibrate at the lowest of frequencies. And because water seeks its own level, your lower frequency will attract lower frequency men, feminine men, lazy bums, and men who are scammy professionals at word salad. Now, ladies, if you do all of the aforementioned steps, you will never ever be desperate for a man, no matter your age or where you are at with your biological clock. The funny thing about healing your desperation is that you'll end up attracting more because of your feelings of confidence and worthiness, which will 1000% improve both your self-esteem, your dating, and or your married life. So that is all that I have to say on this for now. And I said a mouthful. And before I share a very glaring example of desperation at the end of this video, have you ever been desperate for a man's love? And who is the person in your life that taught you how to see yourself as unworthy? And as always, I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching. And as always, I thank you for sharing the videos on this platform to further grow our feminine community. And please stay tuned for more soft power videos to come. And I will catch up with you ladies and lurkers and ear hustlers in the next one.
My boyfriend was in jail for 7 years. We met 4 weeks ago, got married, moved in together, and we have a kid on the way.
Some people are toxic. They have deep levels of insecurity and issues stemming from a troubled, damaged childhood, usually. And they have patterns that are pretty negative and destructive. They have a need to sabotage other people or to sabotage themselves. And getting involved with someone like that can really ruin your life. You get sucked into their dramas. They kind of control the dynamic. They feed off of controlling you by all of the emotions that they can stir up.
Everybody really likes you when you do everything everyone asks and tells you to do.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. And nobody likes you when you have boundaries. I had to learn to grow some boundaries. The more that I understood what boundaries really meant through therapy, the less people started to like me. And the more I understood how fantastic and healthy that was.